Hi, for any medical PG who has joined their first year preparing their thesis protocol for submission, this video is going to be extremely helpful to you. In this video, we'll give you some important tips on how to avoid thesis protocol rejection. We have seen numerous students sending their rejected protocols to us, and most of the times, the many of these issues can be very well avoided if you are aware of them. So, how to avoid thesis protocol rejection? To do that, first you need to understand how reviewers assess your protocol. You have to read the reviewer's mind and you have to know the ways and means by which your reviewers assess your study protocol. So here is a quick insight from Medthesis expert panel. What we are going to give you today is called protocol assessment checklist. This is the tool usually every reviewer use to assess your protocol or your final thesis. So what we are giving today is protocol assessment checklist. So every reviewer will, while going through your thesis protocol, he'll have a checklist in his mind or a printed checklist in his hand, and he'll evaluate every component of your thesis using this checklist. So the first important thing they look at is your title. Internationally recommended, there is a standard format for title, P-Coast format, and your DNB, various universities, they recommend your thesis title to be in this P-Coast format. What is your P-Coast? P is population. What is your study population? Whether subjects with diabetes, whether antenatal women with first trimester vaginal bleeding, or you are looking at a patient who is presenting with diabetes ulcer. All these are your study population. What disease condition you are including as a study population. If at all you are doing any intervention, what intervention you are doing must be specified in your title. If you are using any control or a comparator group, if you are, suppose for example, you want to see platelet indices in diabetic and non-diabetic subjects, there are two groups of people, diabetic, non-diabetic. So you have to mention the comparator group also. And most important thing is you have to mention the outcome. Suppose in the previous example, platelet indices are the outcome. So you have to specify the outcome in the title, your study setting, whether it is a hospital based or community based or what kind of hospital, and the most important thing is your study design, whether it is a case control study, cohort study, cross sectional study, observation study, intervention study. These six components must be there in your title. For observational studies where intervention is not done, intervention is not applicable. If you are using only one group, your control or comparator group is not applicable. So not all components are applicable to all titles, but if it is applicable to your study, it has to be there in the title. Please remember P-Coast. Then immediately they'll read your background or introduction part of your protocol. What they expect in your introduction or background is you have to give a brief description about the burden of the disease condition you are studying, and you have to provide a brief summary of what has been already studied on the subject. And the most important thing, the key word here is the need of the study. They look at the end of the background whether you have specified the need of the study or not, whether your study findings, how they are going to help in improving the diagnosis or treatment, or the improving the outcomes of the treatment, that you need to specify at the end of the study. Remember one keyword about the background: need of the study has to be emphasized at the end of the background. We have seen more than 100 protocols coming back saying that need of the study is not emphasized at the end of background. Review of literature, we have seen people writing pages and pages of review of literature but still getting their protocol back saying that your review of literature is irrelevant or too extensive. What they expect is a quick review of around 10 to 15 recently published studies which are relevant to your topic. And at the end of this review, in one paragraph, you have to highlight the lacunae in existing literature and how your study is going to address these lacunae. So please mark these two things. 10 to 15 recently published studies are enough, and lacunae in literature have to be highlighted at the end of review of literature. And then they go to your aims and objectives. Aim is a broader one, objectives are very specific things. So your objectives have to be smart objectives, specific, measurable, attainable, reliable, and time bound objectives. There should be absolute clarity in your study objectives. There should not be any ambiguity. Then they go to your materials and methods section. So there you have to mention DNB insists on the same order. Various universities more or less have a similar order. or maybe one component less or more, but these are the essential components of any material method section. First, what is the study site? You have to specify your hospital name. What is the study population? What is your study population? Study design, whether it is an observational study, intervention study, whether it is analytical study or a descriptive study, right? Various study designs, case control, cohort, randomized control trial. You have to clearly specify the study design. Sample size with justification. The most important thing to remember here is you need to specify a reference study from which you have taken the data, and you have to specify what formula has been used for sample size calculation. If the reference study is not available, you can quote a pilot study conducted in your own setting, and you can tell that I have taken data from the pilot study conducted in my particular hospital or setting. Then what is the time frame to address the study? This is the data collection period. Starting point of your data collection from January 2017 to December 2017. This is my data collection period. If there is any specific follow-up period, you have to mention that my recruitment is during this period, and after that my follow-up is during this period. So you have to clearly specify the time frame of the concerned study. Then inclusion criteria, exclusion criteria. Please avoid, suppose for example I am writing age more than 18 years as inclusion criteria, then you should not write age less than 18 as exclusion criteria. That is automatically understood. Persons who are willing to participate in the study, that can never be inclusion criteria. That obviously will come under the ethical aspects of the study. So inclusion criteria should specify either any age restriction, any gender restriction, any particular disease restriction. For example, many anesthesia people, they write ASA grade and 1 and 2, right? Exclusion criteria, of course you will specify the exclusion criteria. Methodology is one thing. You need to understand the difference between methodology and material methods. Methodology is how will you, after recruitment of your study participants, what are all the things you are going to do to the study participants. So after obtaining the informed consent and recruitment of the study participant, I will analyze him clinically, then I will collect so much of blood, I'll transport it like this, then I'll do this following tests. These are the tools I'm going to use for the assessment. These are all the things you need to describe in methodology. Statistical methods, you have to specify what are the key outcome and explanatory variables. Sufficient description of the statistical methods. They should be appropriate for your study. You should not write all the statistical tests in the world and dump them in the protocol. So you need to know what tests to be used in your particular scenario, and then what are the tool or software which you are going to use to do the data analysis, that you have to specify. Here you may need help of a professional statistician. So two things you need a professional help of a statistician is sample size calculation and statistical methods. Of course, study design aspect you need to discuss with a epidemiologist or a community medicine specialist, where statistician may not be very authentic in giving you right study design. Then the most important thing people usually forget is the annexures. I have seen many DNB dissertations coming back saying that proper annexures are not included in the protocol. So please remember four annexures, that is patient information sheet in English and local language, informed consent form in English and local language, your study pro forma or otherwise called a study questionnaire, your ethical committee approval letter has to be included, and finally the references have to be in the Vancouver style. In protocol they won't expect more than 15 to 20 citations. Some universities they give your citations should not be more than 15. They give a clear upper level limit for number of references. So overall assessment they do, they see whether the entire document is nicely formatted, all the font size is uniform, proper spacing is maintained. All this is usually provided as a guideline by every university. So you have to stick to those guidelines. It cannot be 16 font in one page and 12 font in another page. Margins are haphazard. So that communicates that you are a very casual person and you have not done enough amount of work to properly format and properly present it. It's like taking the reviewers for granted, and they hate this kind of behavior. So they'll outrightly try to point out some minor things, they blow it up, and then they usually reject it. So please format it, present it neatly. Thank you very much. It is prepared by our expert panel at Medthesis. For any support regarding medical thesis writing, your sample size calculation, data analysis, proofreading of the document, Vancouver citation format, please visit our website medthesis.com, or you can write to us at support@medthesis.com, or you can give a quick call and discuss with our expert. So you may get much more clear guidance on your particular protocol or your particular dissertation. Please spread the news to your friends. Please let them log in and watch our videos on various aspects of dissertation writing. Our motto is to make dissertation writing hassle free and provide high quality professional support at all stages of your dissertation writing. Thank you again. Bye.